lot of people still upset over the sudden disqualification of Spanish for its high school soccer teams just before the playoffs.
Yeah, the AHSAA put Spanish Fort High on probation for a year and fined the school $400 for what many say was a mistake. And now the legislature might get involved to help keep this from happening again. Our Dacian Smith is joining us from Spanish Fort with that information. Dacian, State Senator Chris Elliott says this is a common problem.
Yes, he does, and he says that legislators in other parts of the state have raised concerns about the AHSAA as well. Now Elliott wants to make sure the problem doesn't get any worse. Last week, the AHSAA disqualified both the Spanish Fort High School boys and girls soccer teams as they prepared for the playoffs. The ruling came after another school questioned the eligibility of one of the players on the boys team, who moved from another state earlier this year. It's a decision that still isn't sitting right with parents.
My daughter was crushed, and everything that they'd worked so hard for all year was taken away from them unjustly.
It's also not sitting well with State Senator Chris Elliott.
We have eligibility debacles that are impacting our student athletes, and then unfortunately spilling over to impact other student athletes that never had an eligibility issue.
Now Elliott plans to go through the legislature to make sure things like this don't happen again in the future.
If we're continuing to have these problems, then they have a programmatic issue within their association they need to fix. They haven't done it. We continue to see problems, and it's time for the legislature to step in.
One thing he'll be looking at is rules interpretation, like the bona fide transfer rule that led to the disqualification of the Spanish Fort teams. It's centered on one question: whether all principal family members live together. The student in question hadn't lived with his siblings in 2 years until he moved to Spanish Fort.
It's our understanding that this rule is never been applied to siblings.
We're going to have to get into some of the rulemaking and determine whether or not this needs to be a public body, truly, instead of a private body.
The legislature isn't scheduled to meet again until next year, but the plan is to take this time to explore all options to improve things for student athletes.
They have lost the public trust, and we have got to figure out a way to get that back so that our children and our student athletes feel like they're being treated fairly.
We just want to see reform, and we want to see things get better for the future.
Elliott did also mention they could look into audit requirements for the AHSAA as it relates to any potential public funds from things like ticket sales or any fines that are issued. We did reach out to the AHSAA but have not heard back. Live in Spanish Fort, Dacian Smith, Fox 10 News.